Hey everyone, what is up? Tonight on the show we have an awesome guest, Steve Messenger. If you have never checked out his work, please make sure you go do stevemessenger.art. It is absolutely amazing. We're also going to be giving away an art piece of his, this beautiful Harley Quinn over here, signed by him. So definitely make sure to check that out. And also check this out because Steve is here live with us tonight. How's it going?
Yo, what's up, man? How y'all doing?
Good. It's been a while. I think it was 2022 when you were at Rochester Comic Con, Flower City.
It might have been 21, man.
21. Okay.
Yeah, because it was crazy because like trying to get cons scheduled that year, so many Comic Cons were pushing late into the season.
Yeah.
I think it might have been 21.
Could have been. Definitely.
Yeah. How you been, man?
Been good. How are you?
Yeah. Great. It's been a crazy, I am so happy to be here. First off, thank you for having me on the show.
Of course.
But yeah, man, like the turnout to these shows, folks coming out and supporting us, all the artists, like it has been a wild trip, and I am so grateful to be in a position that I am. So thankful. Yeah.
So I definitely wanted to talk because like your artwork's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
I believe you do a lot with pen, right? I think
Yeah.
what we talked about. So like the faces, everything about like what you do, the backgrounds are absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
What made you kind of get into like the black and white style?
Yeah, so early on, it was like early in life, there was an artist, classical artist by the name of Gustave Doré.
Okay.
And he did this incredible line work. Like if you look at the back of a dollar bill, like that real fine line work,
Yep.
that's what he was doing. But he was doing these epic pictures, and they had to do that super fine line work for the printing press.
Okay.
And as a kid, I was just blown away that this dude, like if you looked at the sky, even the sky was all these fine little lines everywhere.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time doing traditional comic book inking with all the line weights and all that. So I started just doing more of a heavy crosshatch style, and then seeing Jim Lee, what he was doing, especially during COVID.
Definitely.
Yeah, that dude, like, I am so thankful for Jim Lee and what he showed in his process, because what used to take me like 10 hours to do, he was doing in like 2.
Wow.
So especially like that Harley that you were showing there, that was like from a lot of watching Jim Lee's style, his process, and everything else.
Good to know. With us tonight also is
Mike,
one of our panelists that's
Hello.
always on.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Mike?
So
what's up?
we were just
How are
talking
you
about like
guys?
your pen and stuff, and I got focused, or not like focused, but inspired by Jim Lee over the years. And
Yeah, I was hearing that.
so where
Jim
was
Lee?
like that line where you started venturing from like the black and white into the color?
Yeah, so that was once I started doing this full time. So coming out of COVID, I made the decision that like if I'm gonna do this, I have to do it now. I had a career for 20 years, climbing the corporate ladder at a company that had nothing to do with comics. Don't get me wrong, lots of great people and everything else, but like art was something I always had a passion for.
Okay.
Once I started doing cons full time, man, I was like the black and white. I love the detail and everything else, but if you can't color, like you're missing out on part of the market. And the more I was getting requests for things like pinups and commissions and comics and everything else, it was, do you do color? Do you do color? And it's like, well, I better figure out how to color. so there I was, and dude, it was a journey, man. It's kind of funny. My most popular prints at the beginning were the Ninja Turtles. And God, it took me forever to figure out how to color their bandanas. And now it's laughable.
Oh, wow.
I could have done that in a fraction of the time that it took me back then. But just started from the ground up, man, just figuring out how to do the solids and then going on to shading. It was a journey, but that's been my life, man. I learned the hard way and the dumb way sometimes. So
Wow.
We all have those moments, that's for sure.
And I mean, I'm listening to your story and it's making me laugh because I kind of had a 20-ish years journey myself with my former life, let's say.
Yeah.
It'll all come out of time. Not hiding nothing, but I'm a retiree and I did 20 years of something that I really love doing, and it had
Yeah.
absolutely nothing to do with comics whatsoever. But yeah, like you, the pandemic, I was already pretty much in my retirement at this point, and I was just inspired to start, making a comic. And I'm not a great artist, but I do enough work that I can get other artists to, okay, we could do this, A, B, and C. And yeah, I understand what you're saying, and it's totally, the time is always now. That's it. I tell this to everybody. We made a comic. I made a comic. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I mean, working on book 2 now, and I'm actually taught myself the finer arts of fine paneling, and I didn't realize that this is an art form as well. It's one thing to draw. I had an artist that was doing the paneling for me in his drawings, but then I started seeing that this was putting a lot of stress on the artist. So I started taking a new look at paneling, and I'm telling you, that alone is like an art form that I'm every day that I'm doing this, I'm discovering something new. So I love to hear the fact that we all don't know what we're doing when we first start out,
Well, it gives you a new appreciation. New appreciation for like what these guys have been doing for so long. It's like, you put in the work ethic and you make the right connections and the stuff starts to come together. But that's when you start to really realize like how much better you can make it just by upping your game.
Definitely.
In those little areas. Yeah.
So I'll show you my cover real quick because this is our comic right here. And that's on the shirt too, by the way. So you see. That's our first comic. It's called Symbiotic, book 1, the Book of Einstein, and that's the company in the back. So every comic that I'm gonna make for this story, it's gonna be a 6-part series. So every comic I'm gonna do, every cover is gonna be a homage. Obviously, you guys recognize the homage. Every cover will be pretty much a homage. Because I love Spider-Man, I'm trying to stick towards Spider-Man covers to do it. I just did a preview of book 2. I put it on my Instagram if you guys want to look at it. And it's a homage cover. I ain't gonna say which one, but I'm pretty sure people will figure it out. I'll have that out Monday. But yeah, this is so much fun. Like, it's work, but also it's fun. Because now what I'm doing, I'm just waiting for the rest of my art to come back. My artist is named Waylon Weathers. Shout out to you, Wayways Comics. And he's at work right now finishing up the last couple of panels. Once that comes, I'm actually going to be doing video on it. I'm going to actually show people step by step how I make the comic. Not how comics are made, but how I do it, because I have a weird way of doing it. But I got to tell you, like, it works for me. I'm pretty sure there's better ways, and I would love to exchange ideas with you anytime, and you can give me advice. I'd love to listen. I'm a student of the game, and I'm always down to learn new techniques and stuff. But yeah, I mean, like, that's what you got to do, people. It's like, I don't know what to say. When people say, when should I start a comic book? I always tell them yesterday. If you feel like doing this, everything has to be done yesterday. Just get it done. No matter what. Look, no matter what, you'll find a way. You got to find a way, everybody's situation is different. I'm not crowdfunded. I don't do the GoFundMe, but I should do it because I'm thinking that that's going to bring more eyes to the product as well.
Oh, yeah.
So my advice to people is, if you're looking to really do this, crowdfund and put your book out there. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. So Steve, speaking of which, what was like that first thing that you drew and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna take this to the next level. I'm gonna start selling these. When was that moment?
I think the first drawing that I made where I felt like I think I might be onto something. It's funny, I was in junior high, was the very first time.
Okay.
We had an art class and we had, your weekly assignment or whatever. You have to have something done by Friday. And I wanted, for whatever reason, my brother, he was into Beowulf and Grendel at the time. And I wanted to make the sickest picture of Beowulf and Grendel. I had been trying to like do good and like, be better than the other people in my class and be better than my brothers at drawing and everything. But I drew like probably something that should have sent me to the principal's office. Like, I mean, there was so much blood and gore coming out of this dude's arm. There was probably 18 gallons of blood coming out. And I'll never forget, like, all the kids were like, whoa, that's awesome. Whoa, that's cool. But there was one buddy of mine who I looked up to that was like, bro, can I have that? And I was like, wow, someone actually wants my art that isn't a family member, like family members are obligated to tell you that you're good. But like the fact that somebody that had no like legal ties to me was like, I want that. That was the first time that I had that itch. But it was years though that like out of high school where I just couldn't find a way to like be profitable. I got jobs getting some stuff published. I was in some card games, some like D&D style games, got some stuff published.
Yeah.
But I couldn't pay the bills. I didn't know what I was doing. And this is 2008 era where like that recession, like not only was like price of gas through the roof, inflation was through the roof, but you couldn't find a job. You just couldn't. But I finally got something. I got back into the factory I was at through high school, and I gave up on art, dude. Like I was climbing the corporate ladder. I felt like either art had failed me or I had failed art, one or the other. But I felt like I had no marketable skill. I didn't go to college. I was just gonna dig in and work. It wasn't until I did a show on a whim, 2015 or 16. I did a show down in Louisville, Kentucky. And on a whim, I was just like, you know what?
Louisville.
Oh, Louisville. Hell yeah. And before the show started.
Back in the day, so I know. Shout out to Louisville.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, I was out in J-Town. Yeah. But yeah, I ended up selling one of my drawings from like 2004. I sold it in 2015. I'm like, dude, if my stuff from 2004 was good enough to sell, then surely I've been missing out. So I've just been growing it ever since, man.
Right.
Nice. What's like that favorite character of yours to explore different ways to draw?
I'll tell you what, man. Anytime someone asks me to draw either Batman or Wolverine right now, I get anxiety. They're so simple, but so easy to get wrong. That every time I sit down and draw, it's like, okay, don't mess this up. Like, let's nail this. Let's crush it. So I think those two in particular, those stand out just because they're so iconic. But the other one would be Harley Quinn, dude. Like everybody, it's like ordering a pizza. Everybody wants a different version of Harley Quinn.
Yes.
So I'm always playing around with different interpretations, different ways of drawing her. Trying to find something that's going to please most people.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Definitely.
In chat, if you guys have any questions for Steve, just drop it in the chat. Steve, you do mostly like your own artwork right now, right? You said you did some commissions for D&D. How did that go? Like, where did that kind of come up?
As far as the D&D stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so early on, man, I thought I was going to be like the fantasy art kind of guy, like a Frank Frazetta kind of style. Mainly because very early on, I didn't want to mess with other people's IPs. If you stay in like the fantasy realm, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
No one's going to sue you for drawing an elf, right? At least I would imagine. So like, and I had some buddies, my one roommate, he was really into D&D, Warhammer, you name it. And, and that was the other thing, like his crew, they all loved my stuff. So I'm like, okay, there's something there, you know? So it was like, I'm going to try to draw the gnarliest dragons and the most badass knights. I'm allowed to cuss, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Yeah. I won't go overboard. But yeah, it was one of those things where I really enjoyed drawing this stuff. And I knew that I had at least some sort of market sample that was into it. So that was sort of the I guess the early inspiration there. And I guess in a way I've always wanted to do like my own epic, but golly, that's a lot of work. Yeah. So I guess that would be it.
Very cool. Where do you see this, like what you've been doing over the past, 5 years? Where do you see that going further? Do you want to continue doing like the art prints that you're doing, or do you want to, if someone were to give you that call, who would it be? Like what would you want to take it to?
So the nice thing about doing the prints is that it has gotten me some awesome opportunities. And it's a dangerous game because yes, people can shut you down because you're, if you don't have the rights to do this, that, whatever. Yeah. But it has opened up doors where like the Ninja Turtles, I just got my first exclusive that dropped in March, with Clan McDonald. So I got my first Ronin cover.
Nice.
Thank you,
Nice.
dude. It was
The
sweet,
Ronin.
dude.
I love
Like,
the last Ronin. Definitely.
yeah. And then also like in the same month, I had a cover for Red Sonja drop with Sapphire, and
Nice. And those are good ones.
yeah. So it's like I'm not knocking the print game at all. At the same time, it's like I'm kind of at that point where I've been dabbling in my own stuff, and I have so many books dropping this year, and I have so many books planned. I don't know when I'm gonna sleep,
Nice.
but because
you can sleep when you're dead. Don't worry about that.
yeah,
That's nice.
Yeah, Slaughter Dolls. That was the first one that went
That is
out. That
bad.
was in November, and was very successful. So issue 2, that's going to come out in August. I've got a
Good.
Star Wars knockoff. We'll just call it what it is. That's coming out May 4th. And I've got
May the 4th be with us all.
right, dude. I'm flying
Nice.
as close to the sun as I can on that one.
It's all good. Kathy Kennedy don't know what's going on. You can get away with anything. Go.
Yeah. I actually talked with someone from Disney to make sure I wasn't going to get sued.
Wow.
And
yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I'm within my rights to do what I'm doing. It's all original characters. It's all original story. It's just I'm gonna be flying as close to that sun as I can. For
You're
reasons.
gonna be Icarus, but don't melt the wings, okay? Like Icarus, my friend.
Exactly.
Oh.
But yeah, man, I got a couple more books, and it's in the works, and I'm trying to get as much done this year. I'm excited about all of them, but with the game and how it is you got to see what sticks.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, that's what we were talking to David Nakayama about a month ago now. And he was saying that he started off doing like the panels and the interiors of the comic, and then he kind of found his calling with the covers. And the fact that he had more artistic liberty, the fact that he recognized what he put out when it was actually printed, he loved doing the covers. And I mean, that makes sense. As an artist, I don't want to draw Spider-Man and all of a sudden Wolverine's on the page. Like, I want it to be what I want it to be, even though I suck at drawing, and I'll probably never be like selling my art anywhere except for to a hobo for $1. But
that's a remark done by David Nakayama at Comic-Con on my cover, so love the man.
And David's awesome.
Good friend.
Yeah.
He's a good. Let me tell you something. You ever meet him? Awesome guy. Talks to you.
He was so honest with us. He's like, covers are where it's at, and if you can be a cover artist, you can do a lot, because then you can start saying, okay, I'm going to do a cover for this, a cover for that, a cover for this. And he loves doing it. And I mean, honestly, I can't blame the guy. His covers are amazing. His covers are recognizable. And if you can be that artist that you can start doing covers and that people notice your art right away, then you're on fire. Like, one of the biggest things that I noticed about your art, and that my wife noticed, that kind of drew us over to your booth, was the fact that you do like that pen style, that black and white with minimal color or just the right amount of color, to the fact where it doesn't, like, it's a different take on a character that's been around for 60 years, which was one of the things that I absolutely loved about like the Spider-Man print that I have. Like, genuinely.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And to your earlier point, as far as like with Nakayama and the covers, the challenge that I've seen in the comic book world right now is that everybody wants to be a cover artist.
Yeah.
Everybody. And I remember watching not too long ago, Alex Ross put out a video about like, so you want to be in the comic business. And he had some good wisdom in there. He's like, dude, the big dogs like DC and Marvel, they have the best case scenario where they can pick the best artists to do covers for them. They have people like Alex Ross, David Finch, even Jim Lee at his own company. Like, they have the best of the best. But the general consensus is there's so many companies, even on the indie level, that they don't have solid sequential artist, like doing panels. And so many people want to skip that and go straight to doing the pinups and doing the covers, so that way they can just get that glory. And I'm finding sort of a I don't know, a different kind of excitement in going in, with doing my own work and doing my own books is like, I really like telling these stories. I like telling my stories. So I love Nakayama, and I look forward to every time that he puts up a new post. At the same time, I wish somebody like Jay Scott with Danger Girls. Like, when is Jay Scott going to do another book again? Like, if he did it,
right.
He's got a Spider-Man covers. Like, dude, if he was penning and penciling his own, at least penciling his own Spider-Man right now, that would be amazing.
It'd be sick, actually. Yeah.
No pun intended. Yeah. There you go. There it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Look at that.
This is one of my wife's, and in all honesty, I didn't even realize that he was the one who did it. I knew he did the cover, but I never realized that he did the interior stuff too.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I forget who they had on inks for that one, but like amazing artwork all the way through, and it holds up.
Yeah.
There's so many books that come out now, and I'm talking from indie level to the major labels, that the panels, they're phoned in so they can sell the covers. And so I don't know. I feel like when everyone starts making the comparison between comics and manga, God, we got to put in the time on those panels, man. We really do.
And I mean, like, that's one of the biggest things that we were talking about recently is like all of these indie books have to hit every single time. And that's why most of the artwork from cover to cover is gorgeous. The ones that are hitting, the ones that are doing well and are going to succeed, the cover to cover art is beautiful. And there's not a single page that you can open up and find a flaw that sticks out like a sore thumb without seeing a bunch of art that's absolutely amazing.
Right.
And then you look at, like you said, some of the stuff the big three are putting out, and it's like, there's not much in here that I'd say is over the top next level.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, there's so many folks now that
pretty much business as usual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and it's the more that technology comes around, it's becoming more and more apparent when people are copping out with like and not to do the meme, but like the 3D assets or tracing.
Yeah.
The tracing one kills me, but it's like, I don't know, the consumer sees that, and they see and they know and they can feel it when there's a cop out going on with the panels.
You're right about that for sure. That's what they had to get about my book, because my artist Waylon Weathers, he is everything's hand drawn. I mean, even the paneling that I'm doing and the new designs that I'm coming up with are actually older designs that Waylon already made, and I was able to incorporate that into special tech. I mean, I can't really explain it. I can't wait to show you guys book 2, but I'm gonna tell you, the paneling I'm gonna do, and when that book comes out, it's gonna be like nothing you ever seen. I'm trying to be so original to a point where I want to make a standard comic, but I want my comic to have that pop. Like when you see, like, I recognize it. This is why I did the homage cover. I recognize it, and then as you get into the book, you're like, but wait. So the paneling, like I said, I have no idea how to do this. I didn't have no videos. I didn't watch nothing. I was just trying to figure things out as I was going along. And honestly, that's why I say to everyone, especially when it comes to any artist or anyone that does any kind of editing on books, this paneling thing is very important. And develop a unique technique. Make your stuff look a little different. Like, overlap one picture to another, make a connecting line, whatever you got to do to stand out. But I'm telling you right now, like, this is like, for me, is the future of comics, is people, especially of the independents, who have the mind and see what the customer likes. Because I always think about not just what I would like. I mean, that's the first thing I'm thinking, but then I'm always thinking, okay, if I present this book, how would the customer like it? You know? And I always ask millions of questions. And like I think I showed you some of my paneling, right, Chris? Like what I planned to do. A little bit, yeah. Book. Yeah. So what did you think about that when you saw that compared to book 1?
Much different and much better. Like,
I mean, like,
book 1 was good, but I mean, definitely.
Book 1, I was hard on myself. I gave myself a B because I tell everybody I didn't know what I was doing. Now I know. But I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead.
So you got to learn the hard way sometimes, man.
Like that's exactly you brought up the perfect point, is that
Mhm.
amazing artists like Steve, like Wayland, what they're doing right now is they're taking amazing techniques to that
Yes.
next level.
Yes.
And like one of the things that I noticed, and you were talking about a little bit, Steve, was the fact that taking these characters and making them your own, where is that line of like creative freedom and copyright infringement? Because like technically you can take any item you want and make it, you just can't always sell it. So like where is that line?
I'm not a copyright lawyer. So pretty much I don't know. The word on the street is, as far as if you're talking about buying prints at a con,
Yeah.
you're going to get one set of stories. If you're talking about your comic book, it tends to be a market share conversation.
Okay.
But again, I'm not a lawyer. My whole thing is like, I'm going to make something as much my own as I can, but I want to capture whatever the character is and as whatever the element is that they're supposed to be. If they're supposed to be badass, I want them to be as badass as possible. If they're supposed to be seductive or elusive or whatever, that's what I want to capture. As far as the con scene goes, like, yeah, there is a sort of subsistence that's going on, and if the big dogs want to come in and shut everybody down, they can.
Yeah.
Technically, there's ways to fight it, but I don't have the time or money to fight it. That's why I'm investing in doing my own stuff, because God forbid that there's a day where Marvel, Disney, DC, Image, Top Cow, if any of those dogs want to come in and start throwing their weight around, like, say goodbye to your artist alley at Comic Cons. That's just sort of the nature of the beast.
Yeah, but I also believe this as well, because like I say, what you're saying, I agree with a lot. And this is why, like, I had a great story and I could have shopped this around. I really could have went. I have all the books, pretty much the concepts written out. I did complete 3 of them. What I mean by complete is, okay, you having a story in your head, and you know exactly how it's going to play out. You may not get all the exact details on, but you got the framework. I had the framework for this entire story. I already had the 6 parts in my mind, and I know what the art and everything. I could have shopped this around and went to one of these companies, but I decided that I wanted to stay independent because I feel like this is for all artists, and I don't care what you're into, music, art, comic, whatever you're into that makes you an artist. I feel that being independent now gives me more. I mean, trust me, I could probably make more money quicker, but it's not about money for me at the end of the day. It's about legacy. I want to really build something that's going to last the test of time, like the big 2, the big 3, like when we were growing up and we saw more, like to this day, we're still talking about Spider-Man. We're still talking about Superman. We're still talking about Batman. We're still talking about all of these golden and silver age comics. That's what you want. For me, my goal in my company is to create something that's going to last longer than all of us. Legacy. That's what I care about.
And that's the thing is, like, these companies have created amazing characters that we want to copy, not to steal, but to give a new take on. And like, that's what I love. What a lot of people are doing.
I'm inspired by all of the art. So the legal question, I'm not a lawyer, but they do some more stuff. So I will tell you for what I know. As long as you are inspired, I'm inspired. I'm not looking to rip anybody off. But even when I talk about my book, I mean, it's obvious what inspires me, And to me, that's a nod. To me, this is a matter of respect, not disrespect. And believe me, I saw John Beatty at Comic-Con, and he was tired, a little cranky, but he loved the cover. And I gave him one. I had to, because I was like, looks familiar. He's like, but he was like, I know he was like, it was day 4 Comic-Con, and he looked like he was completely wiped out. Like, you just get to the end of the Comic-Con, and it's just not fun anymore. So I didn't press him too much, but he did like what he saw. I said, here's the book. Yeah. And don't worry about it. I'll see you next year. We'll talk when you like. It looked like he needed to eat a little more. I felt like giving him a sandwich actually, but it's all good. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I want people to know that I have inspiration. I'm inspired I mean, the story's
Yep.
called Symbiotic. Obviously, I was inspired by Venom and Carnage and Spider-Man, but it's not about symbiotes. It's about my own story. That
Yep.
inspired me to create a whole world around it. And so far, I haven't got sued. I'm incorporated. I copyrighted all my stuff. I copyrighted my corporation. I'm an LLC. I put my stuff out there legally. Even the name Symbioverse Comics, I wanted to make sure I wasn't infringing on anyone. So of course you do the LLC. And once the LLC came back and it was free and clear, then that's it. I officially own that. And I love this because it to me is the ultimate freedom, because now I'm gonna flow on a story. I have another story I'm starting. Oh, I already started it. It was like, I don't know if you ever wrote something or did art for something a long time ago, you put it away, then I just jumped right back into it because now I'm starting to have better ideas. But I plan to have about 2 or 3 comics out by the end of this year. But yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I'm not saying don't work for the big 3. What I'm saying is that if you can somehow pull it off and be able to sustain your company and be able to sustain a living, always go independent, because when what's going to happen is one day one man's independent is going to be the next. I want to be one of the big 4. You understand? It's the big 3. I want to be the big 4. That's my goal.
So Steve, what is that like character run that you would want to do if ever given the call?
For an existing character or for
anything? Like if you were given the call to do a character, one you've created or one that's already been created, what would you want to do?
Well, that's interesting. I'm kind of building my own sort of universe here.
Yes.
The one that has me currently most interested is the one I'm dropping on May 4th with sort of my, we'll say, Star Wars inspired sort of story. The character's name is Cole Cobb, and he's an analog to like a Boba Fett sort of archetype. But I and sharing with folks like what that story's about, where it's going, what it is. Effectively, it's my version of what I thought Book of Boba Fett should have been.
Okay.
I don't think he would have came out of that Sarlacc pit thinking like, man, I need a family. I need to like build a tribe. Even if he was brought in by a tribe like he was in the show.
Yeah.
I feel like if he ran into Han Solo the next day, like it's blood. Like we're gonna settle this here and now.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, my story is that I'm telling with this is his revenge arc with sort of that character. And I've been sharing I've got an 8-page preview I've been sharing with folks at shows and showing them what I've got. And I've had people at multiple times ask me like, so you're redoing Book of Boba Fett, are you going to redo 7, 8, and 9? I'm like
calm down there. Calm down. Let's get the first one out, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, let's see how the first Kickstarter goes, friend. Like, let's get that done.
Also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but when you're done, I wanted to ask you about Kickstarter. So continue, sir.
Yeah, so I guess the long story short is like I've got my arc for the Revenge Saga, but from there it's like it sets up what would be could be a 7, 8, and 9.
Nice.
You know, I feel like there's such a vacuum in the Star Wars world. I mean, Rebel Moon came out and like so many people were excited for Rebel Moon and then it fizzled.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? I'm going to tell how I would have played it out. And if there's still excitement at the end of the day, I'm just going to keep it going. Because I've kind of got the loose ends kind of tying together. And every time I got to drive 8 hours to another show, it's like, this is what I think about.
Okay.
So
definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've got a whole wall of Star Wars over there that we just worked on and did. But honestly, I feel as though, like, as you're saying, there's certain characters that just were done poor. And it's not that, like, I get the way that they did Boba Fett. I understand it. But at the same time, like, I completely agree. If you have what was considered the most badass character in all of Star Wars for the 11 minutes that he was on screen back in the 1970s, to then sit there and say, yeah, he's just going to go do this. It didn't make a lot of sense. Like,
Yeah.
I thought Book of Boba Fett was going to be him literally like checking off names like fucking Oliver Queen in the first season of Arrow. And it didn't end up being that way. But I love the idea of taking a character and even just kind of redoing a character in a way to then say, hey, this is where this could have gone.
Yeah.
If this character had this, like these events fall into line. So I love that concept.
Yeah.
Imagine that Boba Fett walks into the cantina after coming out of the pit. And the bartender is like, thank God you're here. Like the you got the music, you got that same song playing. It's still playing. Years later, it's still playing.
Yeah, still playing. No matter what. That's the only song they ever knew.
Exactly.
It's like the number one song in the galaxy.
Yep.
And he walks in and the bartender says, thank God you're here. Like Jabba's dead. There's all kinds of different factions that are vying for, and Boba just slams his hand down the table, says, not my problem. Where's Han Solo?
Yeah.
That's issue 1 of the Return of Cole Cobb. From there, it's going to be bloody. It's going to be, I've told some folks, it's like John Wick meets Star Wars.
Okay.
Nice.
Like he's out for blood. He's being brutal. Right? Like that one shot that they teased of Boba using his backpack rocket and exploding the dude on the wall.
Yes.
I thought that was going to be the whole season. Turns out anytime there was a problem, somebody else saved Boba Fett.
Yep.
It was usually, what was her name? Fennec.
Fennec. Yeah.
Yeah. It was usually Fennec saving the day.
Yeah, Fennec, yeah.
Which she was a cool character too, but like let Boba kick some ass.
Yeah.
He is the most nefarious mercenary in the galaxy.
Yep.
He doesn't need to be saved every time.
Yeah, and that's the problem with new Star Wars. And I don't think it has anything to do with the old Star Wars. I just think it has to do with the fact that the people who have it now really just don't know. I mean, either they don't know how to incorporate this story and continuing on that would make sense, or they just don't care to. You see, it's a real funny thing about Hollywood. It's crazy, especially actors, actresses, and anybody that's doing anything related to like Star Wars or any kind of comic book hero. They always tell them they do not want them to have a pre-bias, meaning that if you say, I love comics, then, I loved, like, let's just say Tobey Maguire. I always had this conversation. We had this before. I believe Tobey Maguire loves Spider-Man, but when I first heard him say he never read a Spider-Man comic, I was like, that's a lie. How are you going to tell me that? When you had there's no way that you just a quick study like that. You have to, but back then it wasn't being said. They did not want people to have this insight. So when you see all these stories be written, he's talking about writing it the way it should be written because this is the way it should be. But they don't, but he would not work for Disney because they don't want him to have his predisposition of what the story was, reading the comics and watching the original stuff, you see?
Yeah.
And this is the problem. This is why you see movies time and time again start to bomb, because you have the older guys like us, the men who grew up as kids with this stuff. I was a child when Star Wars came out. I was literally like, I don't want to give away my age, but I'll give away. I was about 7 years old when episode 1 came, or episode 4. I was 7. I never forget it. I only remember 2 things in the whole movie. When Luke was fighting the first time, and when Darth Vader's X-Wing fighter got shot up and he's just spinning around in space. But I'm just saying, like, for stuff like that, for me being a child, and then to grow up and see what they're doing to Star Wars now, it makes me so sad. And this is the problem. But you see a person like him, and this is why I tell Hollywood all the time when I'm working with them, you need people like this because you already tried it your way. You tried it to the way that you were trying to. It's trying to create something on the back of something else instead of just flowing with the story, add it on to the story, or you're just trying to tell a completely different story. Because, like I said, I really have mixed emotions about Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but once Disney bought it, I gotta be honest. I mean, like, I'm not saying it was all bad, because I'm gonna be honest. I loved The Mandalorian season 1, season 2. To me, that's where it ends.
Yeah.
The minute they brought back Roku, I was like, nah, it should have ended just like that. But you literally
make a new show that's different than
I'm talking about that because it's a Boba. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you took a guy that was supposed to be a badass And you just reduced his role to like a crying baby. I got to go to the wells at the bottom of the planet because I took my mask off. I mean, like, come on. And same thing with Boba Fett. Boba Fett's supposed to be an assassin, a badass. You don't need no one saving him. He's the one that does the killing. So his concept is correct. That's how you're supposed to do the story. And I hope that when you do this comic stuff, let us know. I definitely want a copy. I got a copy for you if you want. But I'm saying I definitely want a copy because I like what you're saying. It makes sense.
Thank you.
This is the future. They're going to learn. Listen, I give it a couple of years. I'm never wrong. Right, Chris? How many times I've been wrong? Tell me one time I was ever wrong. Never. I have a perfect track record. So I'm never wrong about these things. I predict within the next 5 years, you're going to see such an uprising in independence. We're going to be playing this tape back in 5 years. Like, damn, he said that 5 years ago. We are the talent. Trust me. You guys about making money. We don't care about the money. That's why it comes out better. Because this is not about money for me. I tell you, it's about legacy. It's about making and create. And that's what I care about. When you are focused on the story and you have a passion for it, especially the way that Steve has a passion for it, that's what you want. That's the writers I want. Those are the artists I want. These are the people I want to work with. I don't want to work with people that are trying to push any agendas. I get it, modern audiences and stuff, but no one cares about that. When you're going to the movies or you're going to read a comic, you understand that this is not a real world. So I don't want to see the real world in my comics. I want to be immersed into a completely different world that has nothing to do with the real world. This is why art is escapism, but you're making it not escapism. You're making it reality. So I just feel like you are on the right track, sir. I agree with what you said 100%. I would love to see the story. I can't wait. You got me hyped about this. I really want a comic. So we're going to be in touch. Are you on Instagram? I'm going to be following you. Yeah, no doubt, man.
It's all,
you got me all excited now.
It's all just Steve Messenger and add art at the end. Steve Messenger art.
Okay, I got you. I'm going to be sending you an invite today.
There's another Steve Messenger that is exclusively an equine artist. And he's amazing.
Okay.
He only paints pictures of horses. I'm pretty sure he's upset that I exist because he's been doing this for decades and I've only been in the game for a few years. So
good.
If you see horses, you went too far.
Okay, yeah. If I see horses, I went too far. I'll just keep spamming him anyway. I say, hey man, when's your drawings?
Cray Cray's asking, what's your favorite Comic-Con you've been to as an artist?
That's a good question. I've been to a lot of great cons. I think my favorite right now is Cincinnati Comic Expo.
Okay.
It's a great show. But early on, that very first year that I was doing this full time, I got hit up to be on their sketch duel panel. And first time doing something like that. Are you guys familiar with sketch duels?
I believe so.
A little bit.
Yeah, so it's for those of you who don't know, if you have this opportunity, definitely drop in on these. They're a blast.
Okay.
But what they do is they get a handful of artists and 3 or 4, sometimes more. But you get half an hour to draw something that's been crowdsourced. So they ask the audience, you got a panel there like, hey, what do you want to see these guys draw? And you get all kinds of crazy stuff. And depending on how they do it, sometimes you get to kind of pick whatever idea you want to work with. Sometimes it's just, here's the one thing and you all have to draw the same thing. But during that 30 minutes, you have to answer questions from the audience, which sometimes are pretty mundane. They're pretty simple, other times they're pretty wild.
Okay.
But at the end, different shows do it different ways, but Cincinnati, the way they do it is if you're in attendance, they raffle off those drawings at the end. So somebody's going to get an original piece of art that was completed in those 30 minutes.
It's awesome.
Absolute blast. There's so many friends and family that I've got down in the Cincinnati area. Every time I do that show, it's just a great time.
Very cool. That's not too far away from me. I'm up in Western New York, so
yeah. I'll be back at Rochester this year.
Okay. Good to know. I'll see you there.
Rochester.
Oh, yeah.
It's always like we went to New York City this year together, and honestly, it was a ton of fun. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, check it off the bucket list. I have always wanted to go. Next is San Diego Comic-Con whenever I can get out to there. And
yeah, I want to go to that one.
like, honestly, the small cons, the small little comic book festivals are much more intimate. They're more interesting. You
Yeah.
get to meet artists you probably never would have known existed. Like, I never would have seen anything from you, Steve, if you weren't at that Comic-Con, probably.
Yeah.
But like, they have some of the most interesting artists, creators, writers, of many different things. My wife met a ton of people there that ended up knowing a writer that she ended up then meeting at Comic-Con in New York City. So like, it was cool to have that connection and then be like, hey, I met these guys, and now I'm talking to Rebecca Yaros. Like, it was absolutely amazing to be able to have like those weird little connections we never would have had unless we went to the small Comic-Cons first.
Dude, you
that's true.
gotta check out C2E2. Have you been?
No.
All right.
No, but I heard it's badass though. I love the acetate gate story, but yeah, I love CTE. I haven't been there.
There's
yet.
always some
What
kind
is
of
it
drama.
anyway? I gotta go to this one.
There's always
every
some
year
kind of
there's
drama,
some kind of drama at CTE2. It never fails.
So I was lucky enough last year to get a guest spot at C2E2 with Clan McDonald Comics. Fantastic group of folks.
Nice.
Excuse me. They have one of the, out of all the shows I've been to, one of the best curated artist alleys that you will see. When you're walking through,
I love the artist alley.
There's not a single artist in that artist alley where you're like, you need to work a little bit on your chops. You know, like, everybody there is phenomenal.
It's
so
on
like,
point. Yeah,
yeah, that's a show where like, I could see if you're a Comic-Con fan, like, that's the one you want to save up money for, because you're gonna find the best of the best at that show.
Nice.
Good
to know.
Yeah, I definitely go. I mean, I haven't been in Chicago in so long. I haven't been there since, like, Jesus, I can't remember last time I was there. Maybe in 98, 99. Jesus, I gotta go back. It's been too long.
It's time to go.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever been to Chicago is flying through Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's really solid, man.
I went to Chicago. It was a couple of days. I just stood in the city. It was good. I mean, like, it was not a little mini vacation. It wasn't far from where I was at the time. So I just kind of hopped over there when I had the opportunity to do it. And it was good. But I always wanted to go back. I just haven't been back in a while. But Steve, I got a couple questions for you, if you don't mind me asking some questions.
Go for it, man.
Because I heard you talking about, when we was talking about that too. Earlier, I was saying that I was thinking about doing like a Patreon or a crowdfunder or a Kickstarter. Now, I'm looking into it. It don't seem like it's real difficult to do, but I still got to get on the computer and just get it done. Like, when it comes to technology, okay, I'm great with technology. I just suck at computers for some reason. But you give me a tablet, cell phone, iPad, whatever, I make it sing like a baby. But so someone like me, let's say I'm thinking about doing this. So what do you recommend? How would I even start this Kickstarter? Like, just give me like a gist of how it's pretty much goes down and what to expect.
Yeah, I'll give you the nickel tour of Kickstarter.
Yeah, there you go.
First.
Exactly.
Hoarders that just chimed in about Heroes. That would be right up there with C2E2.
Going to Heroes.
If you're a collector, go to Heroes. Like, it's one of the best. If you want to, like, I have something about that, dude. Don't let me forget. I have something about that. But Heroes, they have so many industry folk there that if you're looking to get autographs, commissions, whatever, that is a fantastic show to get in on.
Good to know.
Kickstarter.
Okay.
So here's the thing with Kickstarter that I didn't realize the first time that I did it.
Right.
The hardest part is just setting up all the stuff. Every little thing that you're going to sell, not only are you going to need an itemized list of pictures and descriptions. So let's say you have, cover A version, and then like 3 variants, and then, maybe a t-shirt or a sticker or a keychain or whatever it is that you're adding on.
Yeah. Right.
Every one of those things needs a picture. Every single one of them. On top of that, if you're doing
Okay.
bundles for your Kickstarter, which you're going to be doing for your reward tiers, every single bundle needs a picture. So it's almost just as crucial, not only having like your finished product or whatever you're going to be selling, but like having someone that can turn all those into little buttons or icons or photos, however you want to describe it.
It's science and saying,
yeah, the first time I did it, what I ended up doing, and I still did this on the last Kickstarter that I did, I literally had my computer open and my iPad for photo editing, and I would just go through, and each single thing I want, I would just individually go through and design it and template it. And but the one thing, my biggest piece of advice is don't forget your online only audience. There are so many folks that are overseas that don't want to pay the ridiculous amount for customs. For me to ship something to Canada, it's like $45, $50.
It's insane.
It's
stupid. I know.
I just had
I mailed out a comic and a t-shirt to a customer. It was $25 and mailed it to them. I was like, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I had someone busting my chops.
Yeah, to fill out their customs form.
Yeah, well, and I don't mind filling out the form if you're going to pay the price, but it's like, I had someone bust my chops about how much I was charging for overseas. I'm like, dude, the last time I shipped to Canada, it was $48. It doesn't include the mailer. That doesn't include any addition packing material or my time. It's insane. So for your online audience, I have so many people that will do digital downloads. So if you put on like extra digital download stuff, art books, whatever it might be, that's a download asset, there will be people that will throw $3, $5, $10 of that stuff just to be able to add on.
Because I definitely want to do a digital comic eventually, but I feel like I want to have most of the story done yet. So I just feel like it's just a little too early to just, as I'm starting out, throw out a digital comic. But I definitely want to do something like that. All we're gonna do is when I'm done with these, it's gonna be 6 books. And when I'm done with it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into one graphic novel. And we already have in the wings waiting for us. He's already been hired and commissioned to do the cover. I'm going to have Will Torres do the cover. So he's already hired, and he's just waiting for me to just give him the word. Like, I hired him last year, and he goes, just give me a little time. I said, don't worry. I'll give you as much time as you need. Let's, But in that, when I do that graphic novel, that's when I'm gonna be putting in like the QR codes in the art itself. Because there was another creator that we were talking to, and I like his ideas. I'm gonna take these little hidden QR codes and I'm gonna put the digital comic in that as well, or at least like some background to each character. I'm gonna make little templates and stuff like that. But I also have an idea to do like international shipping, because I have actually some friends in Canada, and thank God I live in New York. I'm not too far away. I'm just going to have to take a quick drive up there and just offload a couple of copies and say, listen, keep them for me. You mail
drive across the border and then ship them throughout Canada, in Canada.
How's that going to look, right? We're over the border handing each other boxes. They're going to think we're dealing maple syrup or something, or we're smuggling in maple syrup or drugs. Who knows? I'm going to be giving the guy short boxes. Drop it. What? It's just comics. Yeah, but you're right, Dot, because I literally, but listen, to ship anywhere else, not Europe, I'm saying I actually had to ship a comic to Puerto Rico as well, and that cost me nothing. I literally was able to do media. I was laughing because I was able to do media. It was like to Puerto Rico $4, but to mail up north to Canada, which is actually close to me. Oh no, that was like $28 because it's nuts. Customs. It is nuts. It's not like I'm spending like anything perishable. It was a T-shirt and a comic, and they're you got to put out a customs form for it. I was like, what? Really? Okay. Crazy.
It took 30 days for this channel to hit 100 subscribers. So I was going to give away 30 comic books and a comic book short box, Black Panther short box, because somehow it ended up lining up very similar to when Chadwick Boseman passed away. And I was like, this would be the perfect homage to him, as well as the fact that we just hit 100 subscribers, as well as the fact that it took us 30 days. Let me give away some books. And the guy who won it lived in Canada. So I'm looking up how the hell can I ship, even with it folded up with the books in the same box, all of that. And I looked it up,
Would
and
it
it
cost you like
goes
$100, man?
$60 to $80
Yeah.
dollars in the shipping. He goes, I just can't do that.
It's
Give
insane.
it to the next person. Like, I'm sorry. And I was like, it's a giveaway for me. I'm willing to spend $15 on the shipping, but I'm not willing to spend $60 to ship $100 worth of comics.
It's
Like,
nuts.
Yeah.
Dude, it's already
Yeah.
nuts enough. Like, the other thing that I got to tell anyone who's going to do a Kickstarter, sometimes you start to get the dinner plate eyes when you're looking at how much money's coming in. If you got a really good Kickstarter going, the
Yeah.
thing you got to remember is you got to ship this stuff. So it's like one of those expenses that we tend to block out, right? And it's like, realistically, depending on what you're selling and what you're doing, a third of whatever you bring in is going to be spent on shipping it. If it's not literally the postage, it's the boxes, the packing wrap, the packing tape,
Yes.
all that stuff. It adds up so
I'm
quick.
a hoarder. I keep everything I get from Amazon. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
I was buying comics for years, and I had the boxes. I still look. I have plenty of them laying around. Look, plenty of these boxes. I don't get rid of these because you know why? Hey, I'll put my comic in there and mail it to you. So that's what I say. Yeah, cardboard. When it comes to boxes, I always tell people, you got packages? Give me your cardboard. Give me all that. I store it away. I have hundreds of these from the years I've bought comics online, and I use them, and they're good to go. But yeah, you're right about that. Shipping supplies, materials, you got to consider all that for sure.
There was one I got off of eBay. So like from a seller who had amazing reviews. He sold like thousands of products, thousands of different comics. And even his shipping materials was reused because there is that much money in the shipping materials alone that to ship a comic book, it costs probably 30 cents extra a comic.
Yep.
Not including the cost of the shipping like you're talking about. Like I just bought a bunch of boxes that I'm like, oh, these are so much nicer than Gemini's. You can fold them up and unfold them easily. You don't have to like tape them all the way around and stuff. And they were cheaper than Gemini's too. And it was, I want to say for 50 of them, it was like 30, 40 bucks. I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And then you go and you go on Whatnot and stuff and you sell a comic for $1 and it's like, I'm not making any money on this.
No.
That's why I said to my corporation, I said like this. I said, we use recyclable material to reduce waste on planet Earth. Anything that we get, we keep and we save for the future to mail out. And let me tell you something. I've got a lot of positive responses for that as well, because first of all, you're saving money. Second of all, you're saving materials. You're saving the planet at the same time because you're not using resources to make those materials. They're already made. So I tell this to people all the time, especially when you got boxes. If you can use it, keep it, put it away. My fiance was looking at me like I was nuts. And I didn't even have an idea that I was going to be, at the time that I was storing the boxes, because I also sell online. I have a website. I do sell comics. At the time that I was doing it, I was thinking about, just shipping out regular comics in it. But then I wind up having a business, and I'm like, wow, I'm glad I saved all these. I got thousands of dollars worth of cardboard sitting around, neatly stacked, waiting to go. I mean, like I said, this has a little tag on it. I rip it off, and that's it. It's ready to go. I mean, that's my best advice to people, because you can get materials, and you're right. You're paying so much money for these boxes. You're selling a comic for $1. You're not making no money because then they're paying the ship. You're not doing anything. But I mean, I'm a big believer in that. I always grab as much cardboard as I can. I'm a nut when it comes to Amazon. I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon. I'm just lazy lately. I don't like to really shop that much. So Amazon's very convenient for where I'm at. I mean, we have a warehouse out here. I'm up in northern Staten Island. I'm literally like right, the Bayonne Bridge is like right. I can look out my yard. There's a Bayonne Bridge. So I'm in the area where all this commons is very like, it's popping. I mean, like it's really good. Sometimes I'll get something and I don't like it, and I'll send it back. But I like the packaging I got. But then I'll find another package. I don't care how you send it back. And I'll give them like a bag instead of a box. They'll just I'll put it in the bag. Here you go. I keep your box, But I mean, material. Yeah, I didn't consider that. But the reason why I asked you is because I'm considering doing it for more or less of more name recognition. I feel as that community heats up and it's being passed around to others. But I feel like the money factor would, it would be a factor, especially like you said with the shipping and everything. And so what other costs are going to be? Okay, so what about let's say you raise, I don't know how this works, so I'm just going to throw out a number. Let's say I make a campaign goal. My campaign goal is to raise the money it's going to cost to make my comic. Okay, the money it costs to make my comic plus what it costs to make my comic. So I'm just gonna throw a number out there, like $10,000. I'm making a Kickstarter for $10,000. Out of that money, what happens to it when you reach the end of your goal? And what's the next step after that? I reach my goal of 10,000. We give it a couple of days, it may go to 20,000, let's say. So I'll have, let's say, over my asking. So what happens with that excess money? Do you get to keep that? How does that work exactly?
Yeah, so what the funny part is that it usually gets absorbed into something that you didn't foresee. So
okay,
it's one of those things that's easy to get excited about money coming in.
Yes.
But the reality of it is that, like I said, typically a third is going to go into shipping. You probably have a decent chunk that's going into either paying for the printing or paying for the production between your artist or whatever. If you do have money left over, depending on how you have your business set up, yeah, you can pay yourself out of that money. But there's a decent chance that, like, between your add-ons and everything else, I've told people before, like, my very first book was 145% of gold. The last book I did, I want to say it was something like 200% of gold, but it, like, all that money is spent, and it's not spent on my car or my rent. It's spent on, like, production of stuff. Because the way that I see it is that if I had a hot Kickstarter and people are buying it online, I want to buy more copies of that to take to shows.
Yep.
Yes.
Because I can get more return on investment with that.
Right. Okay, so that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, yeah, you see, so right, because I'm fortunate enough that I have the finances to actually produce everything. I pay for everything. I don't ask for donations, nothing. But I just feel like for me to do something like this, like I said, it's more eyes on the product. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. So because I'm really like get to the point where I'm impatient. Like even when I was doing this comic, I was very impatient because I had it already done, and I was like, I just want to get it out there. So I wasn't even like thinking about doing the Kickstarter. I said, okay, I took a couple of grand, I made 1,000 copies, and this is high quality. I mean, this book is. I don't want to keep talking about my book. I'm just explaining like how I made this because the paper is not regular paper. It's the same laminate that you have for the front cover. The entire book is high quality. Right. I mean, I didn't want to just make a comic. I wanted to make a comic that the person could read. Like you could touch it. You don't have to worry about messing it up. It's not anything that's delicate in your hands. It's literally every damn page is glossy. It's high quality paper. If you really want it, I tell people, if you're really worried about the condition of the paper, what you do is when you're done reading it, just wipe it off with a tissue. But I'm sorry.
So, Steve, tell us this story. I'm going to do the giveaway, and then Porters has another question after this. I want to make sure his question gets answered.
Most people, when they picture Don't Shoot the Messenger, they picture, like, the dude walking into the king's castle, and he delivers the bad news, like, hey, we're invading you, and the king has the guy shot, right, or killed, or what have you. Congratulations, Cray Cray.
Cray Cray.
Oh, Cray Cray.
Congrats.
Congratulations. Nice.
So I heard an alternate version of what Don't Shoot the Messenger means, and it actually makes a lot of sense. So back in the medieval days, the guy that they would send across the battlefield to talk to the opposing army was usually their court jester. Not only was he the guy that was in there entertaining the king, but he was the guy that he trusted to go talk to the other side. And apparently, sometimes what they would do is if they didn't like what the messenger was saying, they would load him into one of the catapults and shoot the messenger. So they weren't shooting the messenger, they were shooting the messenger.
That's great.
Which I think is kind of hilarious. But
I love that.
Yeah, kind of morbid.
See, you learn something new every day on the Comics Lounge, people. That's why you
Yeah.
gotta tune in every Friday, because we
Absolutely.
always learn something new. That was
See,
awesome.
But that's the kind of stuff that like you can then take and turn into like this amazing story you can tell at a party. Like
Mhm.
whenever I go to teach medieval stuff to my students, if I ever teach social studies again and I'm done with math, that's definitely going to be one of the things that I start talking about.
Dude, and I can't help but think that the entire time that they're loading this jester into the catapult, they're just all laughing their asses off. Like, so you're gonna shoot me over there, you know?
Yeah.
But Craig, thank you so much for tuning in, man. I appreciate you, and congrats on winning that print, man.
Yeah, definitely. Hoarders was asking, what's your commission prices?
Yeah, so if you're just looking for something for you, I'm doing 9x12s, black and white, or sketch covers, black and white for $150. If you go to my Instagram, it's just Steve Messenger Art. You can see tons of examples on there. And then if you're looking for 11x17 black and white, I'm doing $300 right now for a single character. If you want to do additional characters, we just got to talk. If you're looking to do an exclusive, so I've been doing exclusives lately. We just got to talk about what you're looking to do, how much work's going into it. I've done work with everyone from Comics Elite to Clan McDonald, Sapphire Skull. I've done a ton of exclusives. So if you're looking to do something like that, pricing's a little different, but we can talk about that and get that worked out.
That's awesome.
I'm actually looking you up now. I'm trying to put you on my Instagram.
Don't find the horse one because I was looking like as I was creating the thumbnail for this.
No,
I'm
I
like,
found it.
Steve Messenger Art, and there's all these horses and stuff. And I was like,
Dude,
maybe this is how he got his
He's
start.
great, man. He's great.
And
then I clicked on the picture. I was like, that's not the Steve Messenger that I'm going to be talking to.
It's a little different.
What's going on here?
That's him, everybody. Give him
There
a follow. That's him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm following you right now, so you're gonna get it right from the Spider Slayer. So, like, if you see, like, what the hell is this crazy account? It's mine. So, it's all good.
Last question of the night, and then we're gonna get going. We talked about like what are those characters that you always kind of find difficult to draw, like Wolverine, Batman. What's that one that you always love to draw, like the one you always go back to if you're in like a writer's block or something like that you just go to and start drawing?
Yeah, there's a few. The easiest ones to dip into just right off the rip is like your Boba Fett's and your Mandos.
Okay.
It's so easy to just jump in and just because of their design and everything else, you don't have to worry about facial expressions. It's just capturing the right angles on everything. As far as the guys go, like between those and then the one that is like the ultimate artist block that I got out of, that would be sweet, man. Yeah, hit me up, dude. I did like medieval fantasy stuff or even beyond, like just doing dudes in armor. Like I did I think it's on my website, but I've got a samurai that I did that was wearing like an Oni mask.
Okay.
What I like to do is take something like that I'm used to doing, but then instead of using like the fine liners like microns and stuff that I normally use, I like to use brush pens, things that keep me looser. That I don't follow my normal process. It breaks me up a little bit and makes me think about the picture a different way.
I hear you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That makes sense.
All right. It's been an absolute pleasure having you tonight.
Dude, thanks so much, Chris, man.
All right.
Anytime you want to come back on, share your book. We'd love to see it.
I apologize ahead of time. I'm a spammer, so sorry. I'm not gonna hit you too hard, but I will annoy you. Yeah. I'm just letting you know. So if you send me a message like "stop it," I'll be like, "Okay, sorry." But we'll definitely be talking. Man. So I would love to talk to you in private sometime. And I do have my own YouTube channel. I haven't been doing interviews in a while because I've been busy doing the comic. So I would love to interview you one day when we get a chance. And I'm gonna have you on my show, Chris.
Oh yeah, man. So, hit me up.
I made this decision a long time ago. Fridays was gonna be for Chris, but yeah, I'm gonna get both of you guys. And thank you guys. This was so much fun. And good luck with everything, Steve. And I really want to get that. I'm hitting you up in the DMs. I want that to him May the 4th book. I want that Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I want that book. We're gonna work out a deal, okay? I can say something sweet. I'm gonna sign it. I got you. Don't worry about it.
Trust me, I've got a trailer coming out very soon. If you're following me on Instagram or Facebook, you're gonna be like, "Yes, Steve, we get it. May 4th.
Does the Kickstarter start May 4th, or is that the actual book coming out?
It'll start May 4th.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
All right, I'll make sure not to tell Kathleen Kennedy that just started on May 4th.
Dear Kathleen, there's this jerk named Steve. He doesn't draw horses. He draws your copyrighted material.
Kathleen, this is what you should be doing.
He draws Star Wars horses. There you go.
You know, and
if you need source material.
Dude, and people say, like, do you want to get picked up to write for those guys? The answer is no.
No. Stay independent, stay strong, because trust me, we will be the next guys. We will be those guys. You understand?
Yeah, absolutely.
South Alien, Steve Ditko, they all started in their late 40s and 50s. They were hitting their stride then, and they were very hush-hush about what they did. Everybody thought they worked as advertisers at the time. They were going out to these elite dinners, and no one knew that they were comic book guys because they didn't think that anybody was going to respect the hobby. But in the end, you see what happens.
It's still going,
you guys. Definitely.
Still going strong.
Definitely.
All right, man. Well, Chris, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. Mike,
it
was a pleasure meeting you, dude.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Have a great night, everyone.
To you, sir. Yes, everyone. Peace and love. We're out.
See ya.
See ya.